Happy New Year and welcome to another edition of Money Talks here on Radio Kidnappers. My name is Stephen Diedrichs of Tax Owl here in the local Hawke's Bay. I'd like to thank Ken and his team for doing a great job in putting this program on and all the other programs that are on Radio Kidnappers. So thanks to Ken and his team. Today I'd start off with the show on Financial Sabotage. And you may think, well, it's a bit of a grim thing to start the year with, given that it's the start of the calendar year and everyone has their resolutions on track and working towards that, and nobody wants to think about sabotage. But I think, yeah, it's an important topic because it happens at the subconscious level. So in my mind, there's really two things that you can do to overcome financial sabotage. There's other things that you may have thought of, but for me, the two bigger things are taxes and developing a system. So yes, we don't want to talk about taxes so early in the year, but I'll ramp it up a bit so that you really get your interest going in taxes, and we'll ramp it up by talking about sex and taxes. They'll go well together. So go back to the legend of Lady Godiva back in the 11th century. Some of you may have heard about her, but so Lady Godiva, she was 11th century noblewoman, and she was married to Leofric, who is a powerful Earl of Mercia and a Lord of Coventry. So back then he was imposing quite huge amounts of taxes onto his people, and Lady Godiva was becoming quite concerned that it was crippling his people. So she pleaded with him to reduce the taxes, but he wouldn't, and in a quib he said, "I'll reduce the taxes if you drive naked through the town." And lo and behold, she took him up on it. So she proudly hopped on a horse and with her long flowing hair covered herself and went through the local town square. But before she left, being the total lady that she is, she instructed all her public not to stay indoors and keep the windows shut as she did her deed. And this is also where the legend of Peeping Tom came in. And one man named Tom decided he's got to get an eyeful of Lady Godiva, and as legend has it, he opened his window to have a look, and as he looked, he got struck and went blind. So ouch to Peeping Tom. And once Lady Godiva finished the deed, she confronted Leofric, and true to his word, he reduced the debts of some of his public. So as you can see, taxes has a big effect on people. And if you want another example of a big effect, the British imposed unpopular taxes on their colonies in what's known now as the USA, and that started the the American War of Independence. So Sex, War and Taxes sounds like a great movie title, as you can see. So now that I really have your attention, we'll go back to our goals and why we need to pay particular attention to our taxes, because after all, we do make our investments and we do want to earn more money. So it's very important that not so much how much money we make, but how much money we keep. And as we all know, when we make money, there's the government standing there with their hand out to take their fair share, and that's fair enough. Somebody's got to pay for the hospitals and the roads. So what's important is to consider our investments, where we invest in, the type of taxes that we'll pay with it. For example, if there's withholding taxes on interest, company taxes, and personal tax rates. So it's fair enough, and I think quite rightly, to legally consider how to reduce your taxes, because at the end of the day, everybody must pay taxes, and I'll stress that again, everybody must pay taxes. But I will also stress that we should not leave a tip So do things legally, please. So following on from taxes, the other way that I think we can reduce our financial sabotage is to have a good system in place. And you may be investing in commodities such as gold or silver, and this is now, just before I continue, I'm not telling you to invest in gold or silver or commodities. You have to make that decision yourself and have a look, talk about it with your financial planner. But there's what you should, or I'd say use the word should, or rather must. What you must create is a system, and your system could be as simple as, look, have a time each day or each week where you read up on your particular area of interest. For example, gold, and read a bit about the history of it and why is it always important, or read up on the industry, different companies, and also how they extract the gold and how they drill for cores, and the other companies around it that support the main gold mining companies, because that will increase your interest in it. And the more your interest increases in that particular area, the less likely you are to be to do things that will cause you financial sabotage. And this all happens on a subconscious level. So as you take more interest in it, you will, over time, it has a greater chance of leading to you making more income from it, and becoming more financially literate in that particular area. Now, the funny thing with this is that as you develop a system and get more interest in one area that's supporting your life, without you even noticing, it's likely, or more likely, that in other areas in your life, they are also going to improve, and that you'll develop a system, even subconsciously, around those areas. And as more and more parts of your life improve, then your finances will also increase. And you'll develop a discipline, and it's could be just simple things. And I'll go back to a couple of programs ago. I shared about how we pay ourselves first, and that's also a system to get that right. That's also a system that we have to have, where money goes from, say, our main account into a different account that we're placing money in to pay ourselves first. And we may look at it at the beginning of the year and go, okay, if I save X amount of dollars, when I get to 31st of December, I'll have triple X. So, so we think, that's great. Then, life happens, and fair enough, and we suddenly have a couple of bills, and we think, okay, we should use from that money where we've been paying ourselves first to pay our bills, and rightly we have to pay our bills. I'm not saying that we shouldn't, but what I am suggesting is that we try and maintain that discipline, and ring up our creditors or the utility company and negotiate with them. I mean, that's why the word was invented, so we could negotiate. But try as much as possible to maintain that system and that discipline of regular savings, a regular savings pattern. So I can share from my personal experience is that using that funds to pay bills and thinking, okay, the end goal at the end of the year is triple X. I'll make up during the year so that I end up on triple X. For me, that didn't work out, so it's much better maintaining the discipline of that. So so like I said, try and maintain the discipline and negotiate, because your creditors or utility companies, they're quite happy to hear from you rather than not. Also, another discipline on the subconscious level to overcome financial sabotage is when we open up an account to put our funds in, where we're paying ourselves first, is the naming of the account. I think it's very important. For example, many people just call it the savings account. I suggest that we change the name and call it like an investment account or any specific name that works for you. The reason for that, in my mind, is that if you call it a savings account, it's too open. There's nothing specific for it. You're not putting the money there for a specific reason. And this subconscious could default to, I'm saving for an emergency or a rainy day. And then, that basically that kind of happens, and all of a sudden you have you need a new tire at the same time as there's a larger utility bill that shows up. So then you save, you tell your subconscious you're saving for an emergency and a rainy day, and it delivers. I'm reminded of Esther Hicks. She wrote a book, and I hope I recall it correctly, but in it she mentioned she was on a plane and flying home and thinking of all the money she had saved for an emergency, and so it's out there in the subconscious. By the time the plane landed and she drove home, the emergency was waiting for her. So so really the lesson is not so much that the money that you'll spend on dealing with the emergency or the money that you lose. For me, that's not the lesson. The real lesson is that your subconscious delivered what it was instructed. So you can, I think there's an opportunity there where we can work with our subconscious to give it different instructions, and that will help overcome our sabotage. So just our financial sabotage. So in closing, just financial sabotage, it's a complicated area. One needs to study it a lot more. But in my view, if we focus on our on taxes, because that will really help with how much money we keep after our investments, and we focus on systems where we really become interested in the area that we work in. It's taking more than a keen interest. It's not just showing up and actually doing your work or meeting a financial planner and sitting down and listening to what they say and then walking away. It's studying and asking pertinent questions. So if we do those two things, I think it will assist us in overcoming our financial sabotage. So thank you for joining me on this first program for the year. I know it's short, but as we're getting into the year, we'll and some of us may be refining our goals for the year. I think it's a good time to start slow, but to start with key items. So thank you for your time. And this is Stephen Diedrichs from Taxile here in the Hawke's Bay with clients in throughout New Zealand and in Australia. And I look forward to speaking with you next time. Thank you and goodbye.